is the Voice of Vietnam, broadcasting from Hanoi, capital of the Socialist Republic of Vietnam.
Hello, welcome to VOV with me, Kim Chi, your host. Today we have a special program to mark the election of deputy to the 16th National Assembly and People's Councils for the 2026-2031 term. First, we provide you with the latest updates on the national election. Current affairs feature the national election and its impacts on Vietnam's path for development. Then our special report highlights the expectations of young Vietnamese for the country's future as they cast their first ballots in this national election. Finally, we check out the latest news in Vietnam and around the world. Now the program in detail. In the news headlines, over 93% of voters cast ballots for National Assembly election. The party chief calls election a great event for people's rights to self-determination. And international media cover Vietnam's election extensively. Now for the news in detail. Over 71.3 million voters cast their ballots in the election of deputies to the 16th National Assembly and People's Council at all levels for 2026-31 term as of 4 p.m. on Sunday, reaching a turnover rate of over 93%, said the National Election Council. 5 out of 34 provinces and cities with a voter turnout rate close to 100% are Tuyên Quang, Lào Cai, Lạng Sơn, Điện Biên, and Lai Châu. As of 4 p.m. on Sunday, a total of over 5,200 news articles and reports about the election were published in domestic newspapers, magazines, online portals, and specialized electronic websites. According to regulations, the election ends at 7 p.m. on Sunday, except in cases where it is extended as stipulated, but no later than 9 p.m. From 7 a.m. on Sunday, voters across Vietnam cast their ballots in the election. Shortly following the flag-raising ceremony at the polling stations were the reading of the opening speech announcing the election regulations and polling station rules, inspecting the main and supplementary ballot boxes in the presence of voters, and sealing the main and supplementary ballot boxes according to regulations.
Thay mặt tổ bầu cử, tôi xin tuyên bố khai mạc cuộc bầu cử đại biểu Quốc hội khóa 16 và đại biểu Hội đồng Nhân dân các cấp nhiệm kỳ 2026-2031 tại khu vực bỏ phiếu.
Party General Secretary To Lam, permanent member of the Party Central Committee Secretariat Trần Cẩm Tú, and voters in their residential areas exercised their civic rights at polling station number 2, electoral unit number 1, WellGood, Hanoi City. Also Sunday morning, President Lương Khương cast his vote at polling station number 26, Hoàn Kiếm Wood, Hanoi. Prime Minister Phạm Minh Chính cast his vote at polling station number 21, Tây Hồ Wood, Hanoi. National Assembly Chairman Trần Thanh Mẫn cast his vote at polling station number 14, Ho Chi Minh City. In the city, 9.7 million voters cast their ballots. At polling station number 53 in Thanh Mỹ Tây Wood, 98-year-old Nguyễn Văn Tàu, known as Tư Cang, who is Colonel, hero of the People's Armed Forces, an outstanding strategic intelligence officer, said,
I
cast my first ballot in 1946, and I still hold this ballot today. For the past 80 years, I have seen this as an honor, a source of pride and a reminder of my compatriots who sacrificed so that today every citizen could cast a ballot to elect the National Assembly. Our generation shed blood to gain independence. So now I tell the younger generation to strive to study hard and achieve higher qualifications. We have completed the era of independence, and now you must usher in the new era of national rights. Trusting in the National Assembly, you must go to the polls with a sense of responsibility, contributing to the nation's new era, and you absolutely must succeed. At polling station number 2, Mỹ Nghiệp Village, Ninh Phước Commune, Khánh Hòa Province, there are 3,236 voters. More than 98% of them are Cham ethnic people. Most Đặng Thị Thanh Hà is a Cham ethnic woman.
Our Mỹ Nghiệp village is a traditional cham brocket weaving village. It's an honor to have two female cham ethnic candidates running for National Assembly representative and two female candidates running for the provincial people's councils.
Officers, soldiers and citizens at polling stations on the islands of Trường Sa Special Zone, Khánh Hòa Province, enthusiastically exercised their rights and civic duties on Sunday morning. Lieutenant Colonel Trần Huy Phùng, political officer of Trường Sa Island, said,
Being able to cast the ballot and exercise our civic rights at the same time as our compatriots and voters nationwide is a great honor and source of pride for the Trường Sa Islanders. This demonstrates the concern of the party and state for the officers, soldiers, and people in this remote and challenging location. It also spreads the sacred image of the rights and civic duties of the military and civilians working on Trường Sa Islands, voting and affirming that Trường Sa is always a sacred part of the fatherland. Each ballot cast by the islanders is done with a high sense of responsibility, reflecting our faith and expectations in the exemplary deputies who will represent the will and aspiration of the people.
At polling stations nationwide, a large number of voters came to exercise their rights and duties, choosing representatives to voice the opinions of the voters and the people.
Today I feel very happy because it is the first time I have held a ballot in my hand to exercise my rights and duties as a citizen, to choose people who are talented and virtuous enough to serve the people. I hope that those elected will develop their abilities and propose sound policies so that the country will become more developed and stable. My family has 4 members and we were eager to come early to cast our votes to elect people who are virtuous and talented. I'm very excited. I believe we will be able to choose worthy representatives.
That the Ian, deputy head of the standing office of the National Election Council, provided an update on the election at the press center.
Today is truly a national festival of national unity. Many polling stations recorded a large number of voters casting their ballots from the very first hours. Particularly noteworthy was the active and exemplary participation of many elderly voters and young voters casting their ballots for the first time. These were striking images of the polling stations. We consider this a vivid and sacred expression, demonstrating continuity in political life from older generations to the younger generation who will worthily continue the tasks of consolidating and developing the political system.
In this election, voters have elected 500 representatives to the 16th National Assembly, 2,552 representatives to the Provincial People's Councils, and 72,611 representatives to the Commune People's Councils. Party General Secretary To Lam and permanent member of the Party Central Committee Trần Cẩm Tú and other voters exercised their rights and duties at polling station number 2, electoral unit number 1, Badingwood, Hanoi on Sunday. Talking to the press after voting, General Secretary Lam expressed his pleasure at witnessing the big turnout in election with enthusiasm. The election was prepared meticulously and early in all stages, creating the most favorable conditions for voters to express their opinions through their ballots under any circumstances, he said.
Cuộc bầu cử lần này thì cũng là trong cái dịp mà chúng ta vừa tổ chức thành công đại hội đại biểu.
This election takes place after we successfully held the 14th National Party Congress. All policies, guidelines and directions for the development of our country in this term, as well as the vision for future periods, have been introduced, disseminated and strongly supported by the people, cadres and party members. So this election of the National Assembly and People's Councils at all levels comes after the most fundamental issues of the party and state guidelines, policies and strategies, as well as those of the various levels and localities, were thoroughly understood. It received strong support from the people, who regarded it as a great national event to directly express their right to freedom and self-determination, to choose individuals with sufficient prestige and trustworthiness to shoulder the common tasks of the country and localities.
On this occasion, the General Secretary thanked the media agencies for their contribution in disseminating information about the strength of national unity, creating an atmosphere of excitement among the people on this national festival of electing representatives to the National Assembly and People's Councils at all levels. Trần Thanh Mẫn, National Assembly Chairman and Chairman of the National Election Council, cast his vote at polling station number 14, Học Môn Commune, Ho Chi Minh City on Sunday. After casting his vote and exercising his civic right, Chairman Mẫn delivered a message to voters nationwide.
Đi bầu là quyền và trách nhiệm thiêng liêng của công dân.
Voting is a sacred right and responsibility of citizens nationwide. This election for the 16th National Assembly is even more significant as it marks the 80th anniversary of the first general election of the Vietnamese National Assembly. I'm so confident that voters nationwide will turn out in large numbers, vote correctly and completely, choosing talented and virtuous individuals worthy of being representatives in the National Assembly and People's Councils at all levels. By doing so, our country will step into a new era, an era of national rights, and successfully implement the resolution of the 14th National Party Congress.
Ho Chi Minh City voters have elected 38 National Assembly representatives of a total of 64 candidates, the highest number nationwide. Many overseas Vietnamese from different parts of the world who are currently in Vietnam cast their ballots on Sunday, exercising their rights and fulfilling their civic responsibilities. Nguyễn Việt Triều is president of the Vietnamese Women's Union in Europe.
The elected deputies must demonstrate morality, integrity, and credibility among the people. They should also possess the knowledge and capability to take on major responsibilities while remaining close to the people, listening to and respecting their aspirations. I hope the deputies will have the ambition and determination to drive breakthroughs, contributing to the achievements of national development goals in the new era.
Lê Thương, president of the Vietnamese Association in Japan's Kansai region, said,
For Vietnamese people living far from home like us, the moments of directly participating in the election makes us feel more connected and closer to our homeland. Each ballot is a right and a citizen's responsibility toward the country's development.
For many Vietnamese living abroad, returning to participate in the election is a special experience. Nguyễn Duy Anh is honorary president of the Vietnamese Association in Fukuoka, Japan.
We have great expectations that deputies of the new term will have a deeper and more comprehensive understanding of the Vietnamese community abroad. Overseas Vietnamese possess knowledge, economic resources, and international connections, so we hope there will be favorable mechanisms and policies that allow us to return and contribute to our homeland.
The website of China Central TV, CCTV, reported on Sunday that voters across Vietnam cast their ballots to elect 500 National Assembly deputies from a total of 864 candidates. Simultaneously, voters elected representatives for the People's Council at all levels for a new 5-year term. The Cuban news agency Prensa Latina highlighted the new features of this election. It is held earlier than usual, organized for the first time under a two-tiered local government model, innovating election campaign methods with both direct and online formats, and strengthening the application of IT and digital transformation in voter registration management and election organization. Russia's Sputnik reported that the election is of significant importance in consolidating the government apparatus for the new term and promoting organizational reforms, as well as the application of technology in election activities, contributing to strengthening the political system and developing the country. The Japanese website Nikkei.com said Vietnam holds an election for its 500-delegate National Assembly on March 15. It explained things to know about the election and the role of the legislature in Vietnam's political life. Other international news agencies like Reuters and AFP reported on the election for the 16 National Assembly and People's Councils at all levels in Vietnam. Now to end the news, here are the headlines once again. Over 93% of voters cast their ballots for National Assembly election. The party chief calls election a great event for people's right to self-determination. And international media cover Vietnam's election extensively. That's the news.
It's now time for current affairs. Vietnamese voters head to the polls on Sunday to elect deputy to the 16th National Assembly and People's Councils at all levels for the 2026-2031 term. Each ballot cast is not merely a choice of an individual candidate, but also a decision about the quality of institutions and the nation's capacity to make breakthroughs over the next 5 years. The success of the election will shape the quality and stature of the National Assembly throughout its term, laying the foundation for a truly renewed, professional, and action-oriented 16th National Assembly capable of driving institutional reform and meeting the country's development needs in the new era. The election comes at a pivotal moment in the nation's development journey. After 4 decades of renewal with significant achievements, Vietnam is entering a new stage with higher demands for growth quality, national competitiveness, and effective state governance. The 14th National Party Congress, held in late January this year, clearly outlined the tasks ahead. And these include continuing to perfect the law-governed socialist state, building modern, transparent, and sustainable institutions, accelerating industrialization and modernization based on science, technology, and innovation, promoting the digital economy and digital society, improving national governance, and actively and proactively deepening international integration. Achieving these goals requires a synchronized, stable, and predictable legal system, along with effective mechanisms for the assignment, coordination, and control of power. With its constitutional and legislative authority to shape the institutional framework for development, decide on major national issues, and exercise supreme oversight over the implementation of the Constitution and laws, the National Assembly's performance directly affects the investment and business environment, the effectiveness of the state apparatus, and the country's standing on the international stage. Each voter's ballot, therefore, does more than select a representative for a locality or sector. It helps choose individuals with virtue, vision, and competence to help shape the nation's future. In other words, every ballot carries the development aspirations of a nation entering a new era. Party General Secretary Tu Lam emphasized this point at a national conference on election preparations last November.
It
is crucial to promote communication so that all cadres, party members, and citizens fully understand the significance of the election and the honor and responsibility embodied in each vote for the country's future. Priority should be given to candidates who demonstrate innovative thinking, the courage to act and take responsibility, and the vision and capacity to contribute to policy making that foster development for both localities and the nation in the coming period.
Every citizen has an equal voice in deciding who will represent them in the National Assembly and People's Councils at all levels. Regardless of occupation, social status, or economic condition, every vote carries the same value in exercising the people's right to decide the future of their country. Each ballot cast represents voters entrusting their confidence, expectations, and responsibility to those elected to make important decisions on national and local matters on their behalf. Voter Gu A Chu from La Chai Wan village in Lai Châu province said,
I hope that elected deputies will stay close to the people, listen attentively to the voices of ethnic minority communities, and promptly convey their legitimate concern to the party and the state. Through that process, party resolutions can be effectively translated into daily life, helping improve the livelihood of local people.
The election is where the will of the people converges into national strength, fueling the aspiration to build a strong and prosperous Vietnam with rapid and sustainable development. You're listening to VOV's special program to mark the election of deputies to the 16th National Assembly and People's Councils for the 2026-2031 term. Along with tens of millions of voters nationwide, many young citizens in Hanoi cast their ballots for the first time in Sunday's election for the National Assembly and People's Councils. These first votes carry not only a sense of pride, but also the responsibility and expectations of the younger generation for the country's future.
From early morning, polling stations across Hanoi were bustling with voters arriving to exercise their civic rights and responsibilities. Among the crowds were many young faces appearing on the voter rolls. For many of them, holding a ballot for the first time marks an important step in adulthood as they formally take part in the nation's political life. At a polling station in Bạch Mai Ward, 12th grader Nguyễn Thảo Trang carefully checked the list of candidates before entering the voting area. Ahead of the election day, the newly turned 18-year-old had spent time learning about the candidates in her residential area.
I feel very honored to take part in the elections. I know how important it is, so I took time to learn about the candidates and see who truly deserves my vote.
Like Chang, many first-time young voters actively sought information about their candidates through official communication channels, voter meetings, and activities organized by youth unions and local authorities. For the younger generation, voting is not only a right but also a way to express their responsibility to the community and society.
I feel very honored to have turned 18 and to be able to take part in this year's elections. It means a lot to me because I feel like I can contribute to the country. I took time to learn about the candidates and their policies.
Taking part in an election for the first time is a special milestone for me. It is not only a right, but also a duty of a citizen who has just turned 18. I hope the new National Assembly will pay more attention to policies related to education, digital transformation, employment and the environment, issues that directly affect the future of young people.
Each ballot is the voice of a citizen, and for us it represents the voice of the younger generation. A single vote may seem small, but millions of votes together will help shape a National Assembly and People's Councils that reflect the spirit of the times.
Beyond exercising their voting rights, many young people have also directly supported election operations. Nguyễn Tiến Hưng, secretary of the Hồ Chí Minh Communist Youth Union in Hanoi, said,
Khối sinh viên ở Hà Nội thì rất là đông và đây là cái lực lượng cực kỳ năng động. Đoàn thanh niên cùng
University students represent a large and dynamic force in Hanoi. Youth unions at several universities have coordinated with local youth unions to assist with election activities. Students are not only voters but also active ambassadors who have spread awareness and a sense of civic responsibility to their families, friends and communities.
The proactive spirit, responsibility and dynamism of the younger generation reflect growing confidence in the role of youth in the country's political and social life, as they join efforts to build a stronger capital city and a more prosperous nation in the years ahead.
And now some more news on the Voice of Vietnam. The philosophy of the Hanoi Master Plan with a 100-year vision must place people at the center and as the driving force of development, and Hanoi should aim to become a prosperous, civilized and modern city that preserves its cultural identity. Prime Minister Phạm Minh Chính said while chairing a meeting with Hanoi city leaders on Saturday. According to the Hanoi City Report, the plan identifies 9 development poles, 9 major centers and 9 key development corridors connected through ring roads and economic corridors to strengthen regional and international links, including connections to border gates and seaports. Concluding the meeting, Prime Minister Chinh stated that the master plan must reflect Vietnamese wisdom, culture and identity, while serving as a key driver for the capital's future development and that of the entire region and the country. He proposed preserving and promoting the culture and identity of Hanoi, the old quarter, and historical and cultural relics. Simultaneously, he called for the planning of spatial developments for the culture and entertainment industries and smart urban governance and management. U.S. President Donald Trump has stepped up calls to reopen the vital Strait of Hormuz, saying warships will hopefully be deployed near Iran's coast to help commercial vessels pass safely as tensions between the U.S. and Iran escalate. Quote unquote, many countries, especially those affected by Iran's attempted closure of the Hormuz Strait, will be sending warships in conjunction with the U.S. to keep the strait open and safe, Trump wrote in his latest post on Truth Social. He said he hopes China, France, Japan, South Korea and the United Kingdom would also send naval vessels. Tensions in the Strait of Hormuz have risen sharply in recent weeks after Iran warned it could block the strategic shipping route. Several attacks on commercial vessels have been reported in the region since the conflict began. At least 14 ships have been attacked or damaged in the Gulf and in waters near the Strait of Hormuz. France is ready to facilitate ceasefire discussions between Israel and Lebanon in Paris, French President Emmanuel Macron said on Saturday, and Israeli media reported that the two sides could hold direct talks in the coming days amid renewed fighting between Israel and Hezbollah. Macron said Lebanon was prepared to engage in direct talks with Israel and urged the Israeli government to seize the opportunity. Israeli media reported that the talks could include a U.S. delegation and may be held in either France or Cyprus. The discussions are expected to focus on ending the fighting in Lebanon and addressing the issue of disarming Hezbollah forces. Conflict between Israel and Hezbollah has escalated again after Hezbollah launched an attack on Israel on March 2nd. You just listened to the English program on The Voice of Vietnam. Our producer today is Hồng Hạnh. I'm Kim Chi. Thanks for listening and goodbye.